Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. So today is going to be my update for my palette rotation series, and I am super excited about it. So for those of you who don't know, I have been doing this project since almost the beginning of the year. I started a few months into the year, but basically it's a super relaxed, laid-back project. I randomly select 5 palettes from my collection each month, and my goal is just to use them once to create an everyday look during that month. So not a huge goal, but it just helps me rotate through my palettes easier and possibly reach for palettes that I might not have chosen to use that month. So I have really enjoyed this project. I know it might not be the most exciting, like a pan those eyeshadows project or pan that palette, but this just works best for me personally, and using the palettes that I have, since I do have a little bit larger of a collection. So yeah, this is going to be my update, and these are the 5 palettes that I had in for September, and I did use each of them once, so I will be going through the looks that I created with them. But first I want to talk about some general palette usage from September. So this past month I did bring in 3 palettes into my collection. So I brought in 2 from Kylove. So this is their Triumph of Venus palette. And then we also have their Rococo palette. Beautiful. I have done first impressions videos using both of these. If you are interested, those are up on my channel. And then the final palette I brought in this month was the new ColourPop and Harry Potter Back to Hogwarts palette. And here is what this one looks like. And speaking of this palette, I will just go over my most used palette, which is also this one. So I did use this one 4 times this past month, which was the most that I used a palette. And those 4 uses were to create the 4 looks for the video I did with this palette, so I will also link that one down below if you are interested in checking that out. I think this is a really beautiful palette, and I love Harry Potter, so I was super excited about this. So all 3 of those palettes do have videos, and this one was also my most used this past month. So I did use a total of 32 palettes out of 71 in my collection, and I did declutter a few palettes this past month, so I did bring that number down, but I am quite happy with my collection now. I didn't do some sort of massive declutter, so I didn't film it or anything, but I did just remove a few palettes from my collection that I wasn't really reaching for, so I do have a slightly smaller collection now, but I'm sure I will bring that back up very soon because I have very little self-control when it comes to buying eyeshadow palettes. But to talk about some more palette usage, I will talk about the pans I hit this month. So I only hit 2 pans this month, which is pretty good. So the first one comes from my Profusion Mixed Metals Peach palette. And the shade that I hit pan on was the shade Special down here. So this is just a really nice chocolatey matte brown shade. I do enjoy it. Super easy to use. Typically used it to deepen my crease or outer corner. And I've had this palette for quite a while, so it had some good usage. So it only took a couple uses this past month to officially hit pan on it, and that does make 3 pans in this palette. And then the second pan that I hit comes from my ColourPop and Disney. It's a Princess Thing palette, one of my absolute favorite palettes in my collection. So I hit pan on the shade Ray. So it's a little bit hard to see with the gold packaging reflecting and just the color of the shade. But I do now have pan on all 3 of these right here. And this is my newest one. This is my favorite gold in my collection. I think it is so pretty, so I'm very happy to finally see a pan in there and to add another pan to my collection. So I will pop up my pan percentage on the screen right now. It did go down since I did declutter those palettes, and I'm a little disappointed because I had just gotten over 50 pans in my collection, just over 5%, and Now I am back down, but I think I can still get there by the end of the year, so that is my goal, is to get at least 50 total pans in my collection and at least 5%. So that, I think, covers all of my palette usage. So now we can jump into talking about the palettes that I had in for the actual rotation series. So these are the 5 palettes that I had in, so I will just run through them all and show you the looks that I created this past month. So up first we have my beautiful Shellz Karma Chameleon palette. This is their Peach Karma Chameleon palette. And here is what it looks like on the inside, so just a cute little quad. And I will insert the picture of the look that I created. So this look was just super simple. I only used 2 of the shades, but I put this stunning duochrome shade all over the lid, just basically packed that everywhere, and then I used this shade over here as some winged liner, and it was super simple, but I did think it was super pretty. And this shade right here, I'm just gonna swatch it for you all. It is just gorgeous. I wish you guys could see what it looks like in person, because it is just absolutely magical. So yeah, I really hope that picks up the shift, but I think you really just need to see the shade in person to get a true feel for it. But I just think it is absolutely gorgeous. And speaking of this palette, this brand, I do have an affiliate link with Beautiful Shellz if you are interested in any of their products. It is always linked in my description box. I do make a small commission if you use it, but there is also a discount code that will save you a little bit of money if you are interested. Next up is my Delancey Panda palette. This palette is adorable. So here is what this one looks like, very cool toned. Not an everyday palette for me, but I was able to use it once this past month, so I will insert a picture of the look I created. So I created this look for kind of a night out, so I used the shade Midnight in the outer corner, winged that out a little bit, and then I did Snow in kind of the first half of the lid and blended them together, I believe, with Smog. And I really wish that the white had been more pigmented, but it was fine. And then I also did put ice in the inner corner. So this was just a fairly simple look, not that many shades, but I just thought it was really cool and it was fun to just create it and then wear it out. So that was the look that I created with this palette. So next up we have my ColourPop Midnight Masquerade palette. So here is what this one looks like. So the look that I created with this one, I will pop up a picture. So for this look, I used the shade Damsel Through the Crease and deepened it up with New Dream. That's kind of my go-to look with this palette, is using those 2 matte shades. And then I used a little bit of Merryweather as well to just continue to deepen up the outer corner, but I didn't use too much of that because I didn't want it to get too pigmented there. And then I packed Mama Odie, which is my favorite shade in this palette, all over the lid. It is absolutely beautiful. It is a really cool duochrome from like pink to green to kind of just a light champagne sort of shimmer. It's just really beautiful. And then I used the shade Spinning Wheel in the inner corner, and this is basically my go-to look with this palette. Those are my favorite shades in this palette, so they're the easiest for me to reach for, but I really do just like what they look like all together, so it made me very happy. And then I also did use this palette for my nails once as well. I used the shade Floating Lantern, tapped over some purple nail polish, so I will insert a picture of what that looked like as well. I'm not a big fan of using glitters on my eyes, so using them for my nail polish is kind of a go-to move for me. I've just started recently doing it, but I do really enjoy what it looks like. So I think that'll be a good use for this shade in the future. So next up we have my Sigma Enchanted palette. So here is what this one looks like on the inside. Just a really nice color story. So I will insert a picture of the look that I created with this one. So for this look, I started out with Innocent in the crease, deepened that up with Loam, and then Claystone in the very outer corner. And then for the lid, I used Plume in kind of the outer corner, budding on most of the lid, kind of the first 2/3, and then I did Moonglade in the inner corner, and then I think I just put Innocent on the lower lash line as well. I don't really do much for my lower lash lines usually, so I usually just use like the lightest matte that I used in my crease on my lower lash line, but I really did enjoy this look. This shade Budding is not one that I expected to really love as much as I do, but I think it looks so pretty all over the lid, so I was really happy to get some use out of that shade this past month, and I think the look that I created was just really pretty, and it was a nice everyday look for me. Alright, then my final palette that I had in for this month was my I Heart Revolution and Disney Aladdin palette. So here is what this one looks like. Lots of beautiful everyday shades. So I will insert a picture of the look that I created. So for this look, I used the shade Raja in kind of the inner crease. And then I did Magic Carpet in the more outer crease and deepened it up with Razul, I believe. And then I probably blended all of those out with Gazim. And then for the outer corner, I used Agrabah and then put Marketplace kind of in the inner portion of the lid, and then did Aladdin in the inner corner. And I think those are all the shades that I used. It's been a little while since I created this look. I really should write down what I use so that I can remember, but I believe those were the shades that I used for this look. I cannot tell if I like this look or not. I was really torn when I first created it, and I finished it and was looking at it and was like, I don't really like this, but then it started to grow on me a little bit, so I'm not really sure where I stand on this look, but I was happy with the shades that I used. These two shades particularly are two of my favorite in this palette, so I was really happy to get some use out of those. So yeah, let me know what you think of this look and what you think of all of these looks as well. Alright, so those were the 5 palettes that I had in for September and the 5 looks that I created with each of them. So let me know which of the looks was your favorite, and we can just get right into drawing in the new palettes for October. Alright, so since I did use all 5 of my palettes from last month, I get to roll in 5 new palettes. So I have my Tiny Decisions app here with all of the palettes that are still eligible for this project. I do remove palettes that have already been in this project this year, and I will reset this wheel once we get into the new year. But for now, I want to rotate through as many palettes as I can during just this year. So we are going to spin this 5 times. And the first palette we get is my NYX Ultimate Utopia palette. That's very exciting. Next up will be my NYX Rococo palette. That is a new one in my collection, so I am very excited about that. Then we have my I Heart Revolution Moana palette, another one that I am very excited about. My I Heart Revolution Tweety palette, another good one. This month is looking very good. And then our final palette is going to be my Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. That is a really nice one for fall. So I will go grab all 5 of those palettes and be right back. Okay, I am so excited for this month, so I'm gonna just quickly run through all 5 of these palettes and show you what they look like. So first up, we rolled in my NYX Ultimate Utopia palette. So this is one of their little 16 pan palettes, and I absolutely adore this palette. I think it is so pretty, and I am so excited to use it. I think there are definitely some good shades in here for fall, so I am very, very excited. This is one of my favorite palettes in my collection, so yeah, definitely going to be fun to get at least one use out of this one. Next up, like I said, is one of my newer palettes, so this is the Rococo palette, and here is what this one looks like. I just recently did a 2 looks 1 palette video with this earlier this month, so I am very excited. This has a beautiful color story, and I am very excited to see what other looks I can create with it. I have only done the 2 looks so far that I did for that video, so definitely excited for this one. And then we have my Moana palette from I Heart Revolution. This is one of their princess palettes, which I absolutely adore. And this color story just really speaks to me. I think it is so incredibly pretty, and I am very excited to get a use out of this next month. This is one of my favorites from this I Heart Revolution Princess collection, so definitely going to be one I am excited to reach for. Alright, sticking with I Heart Revolution, we rolled in my Tweety palette from their Looney Tunes collab. So here is what this one looks like. Super pretty. Once again, have done a first impressions video on this one, and I have used it at least one other time since that video, but I am very excited. This is just a super easy everyday palette, I feel like, and I am excited to get at least one use out of it. It's a nice little curated color story, and yeah, I think it's super pretty. And lastly, we have my ABH Subculture palette. So I have not used this one too much. I found it at a Marshall's only, I guess it's been quite a few months now, but I haven't gotten too much use out of it. This is the first fall that I've had it though, so I think I will be able to get some good use out of it this next month. This is definitely the season when I feel like I will be drawn to these colors, so I think it'll be fairly easy for me to reach for this palette as well. So those are the 5 new palettes I will be bringing in for this month. I am so incredibly excited. I think these palettes will all be very easy for me to reach for. They are all palettes I am super excited about. So yeah, I think this will be a really easy month, and I'm looking forward to getting at least one use out of each of these palettes. Let me know what you think of the palettes that I brought in, of this project as a whole, and also what else you would like to see from me. I'm always open to suggestions. Give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. And with all of that said, I will see you in my next video.